Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. And welcome back to the DCEU Daily Sundays edition of the DCEU Daily. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. On to show today, we're talking about Robert Pattinson being isolated on the set of The Batman. He wasn't even allowed to leave the studio lot. Very, very interesting. We'll also be looking at some screen caps of Michael Keaton as Batman as he's shooting on Batgirl at this very moment. So that's exciting as well. And some Superman and Lois articles as well. So let's get going. Remember, you can comment on there. I will respond as quickly as I can. I am here to give you updates. I am here to read articles, but I'm also here to interact with you as well. So let's go. Well, why filming the Batman was so isolating for Robert Pattinson? Ronnie Dodge, morning, Mick. Then Michael Keaton set pics, amazing. Everything I expected him to be, but he's 70. Doesn't matter, does it? He looks in fine fettle. Very exciting. When Snyder and Fisher were slaughtering Walter Hamada and WB, and Sarnoff stood in front of everyone and said, "That's it, F you. We've had enough." And she went away and came back, and look what she's delivering. Absolutely fantastic. The Batman star Robert Pattinson has talked about the isolating and insular experience of filming and how he used to help fuel his portrayal by Matthew Biggin of Screen Rant. The Batman star Robert Pattinson has revealed how filming the superhero movie was a very isolating experience. And for him, London-born Pattinson, who rose to global prominence playing the role of Edward Cullen in the Twilight franchise, took over the role of the great detective from the town actor Ben Affleck, who hung up his cape following the completion of the movie Justice League in 2017. After Affleck's departure, multiple actors were considered for the part, including Kick-Ass star Aaron Taylor-Johnson. Glad we didn't get him. He's a bit too pretty, if you ask me. Before Pattinson was eventually cast for the Batman. But Ben Affleck actually did come back for Zack Snyder for completion of the Snyder Cut, and he's going to be in The Flash, and who knows what's going to happen in the future. Screen Rant get a little bit confused sometimes, or lazy. Unlike previous iterations of Batman, the film will not serve as an origin story and will instead focus on the already established Batman in his second year. Where was I? Where are we? Oh, Ronnie Dodge. When I saw the pics, I was like, cue the Batman 89 theme. Yeah, that's going to be amazing. We're going to get that theme a lot in the Flash movie and in Batgirl. Very exciting. So, film will not serve as an origin story and will instead focus on the already established Batman in his second year of fighting crime in Gotham. The storyline looks to focus more on the character's role as a detective as he pursues a serial killer known only as the Riddler, who targets Gotham's elite. Believed to have a more somber tone and more violent content than previous films in the franchise, the Batman will focus on Bruce Wayne as a dark and tortured man living on the edge, a far cry from the playboy billionaire depicted in earlier interpretations. Pattinson has spoken at length about the mental anguish of Bruce Wayne and how this is likely to form the basis of the narrative. In an interview with GQ, the Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire star spoke about the nihilistic nature of the role and the steps he took to try to get into the right kind of mental headspace to portray the character effectively. The 35-year-old also spoke about the insular and isolating nature of the shoot and how he felt very much alone during the filming process. Check out Pattinson's full comments below. And the nature of the shoot was so kind of insular, always shooting at night, just really dark all the time. And I felt very much alone, even just being in the suit all the time. You're not really allowed out the studio with the suit on, so I barely knew what was going on at all outside. I'd be in the tent just making ambient electronic music in the suit, looking over the cow. Yeah, it must be a very strange way to work. Obviously, they're not going to let you go out the lot with the costume because the costume is a secret at that time. Complete immersion in a role or a character is not a new concept, and this is one of the key principles of method acting, but that doesn't mean it is easy to pull off. Playing a character as dark and complex as Batman involves a degree of devotion and sacrifice, and inhibiting the Batsuit for hours at a time would have meant Pattinson spent a lot of time in his own head. Actors are used to having to play different roles on pretty much every project they become a part of, but a new take, particularly an intense one, on an iconic and beloved character such as Batman is always a risk, and Pattinson and Reeves are clearly trying to do something different here. Indifferent, if you mean by different actually being faithful to, the core origin material, then that's exactly what they're doing. There is a lot of anticipation for the Batman, and if it is a success, it could very well spawn a new Dark Knight franchise with the Brit at the center indeed. It has already been revealed that Pattinson wants a Batman trilogy for his Bruce Wayne, but this will largely be dependent upon the box office gross of this first installment. I don't think that's going to be a problem, do you? With expectations high and a strong cast in place, there is no reason why a movie should not be a success, and this could make for a bright future for the character, as well as an interesting new direction for the DC movies as a whole. So, yeah, so what he's trying to explain, and Screen Rant's headline was a bit deceptive, let's say, that I wasn't allowed to leave the set. Of course, he was allowed to leave the set, just not on with the costume. He's saying to get into the headspace, he needed to be alone. It was very, very dark all the time. A lot of the shoots were night shoots as well. And this is what they do. I'm trained as an actor. I act all the time on stage over in Cyprus as well. So I know how he feels. But once you get it right, once you perform it, it's worth being on your own to do this kind of thing. So great stuff for Robert Pattinson in The Batman. Ronnie Dodge, I'm very excited for the future of the DCEU. Can't stop watching that Super Bowl spot. This year is our year. Yes, this is the year of DC. DC are going to own 2022. Facts. Come at me. Tell me why that's not going to happen. Please do. John Kemplaw. Oh, you're new. The isolation aspect sounds like Batman ego comic. Exactly. Yeah. Listen, this is a very different take on Batman, but like Mr. Kemplaw, if you know your Batman comics, you know this is a take of the comics. Not just one comic, several comics. That's the point. Because this man, Matt Reeves, is a fan of the comics. He's a studier of the comics. He knows a lot of DC comics, not just Batman. This is why putting DC, a DC universe, in his hands is absolutely genius. So we move on to Michael Keaton. I want to first, before I read this article, I want to look at, there's a screen grab I've got of him somewhere. If I can find it. It's good being live, isn't it? You can't cut. But anyway, right, so let's do this. Twitter. So what's the best one of him? No, I don't like that one. That one's okay. Yeah, I like this one. So let's go in. Let's go in for the kill as Batman would. Let's get rid of some notifications and let's do this. Right. This is what they've posted online. This looks absolutely fantastic. Now, I've been told this is not a stuntman. This is actually Michael Keaton. He looks in fine fettle. That costume on him looks tremendous. But I've seen Michael Keaton topless. Not like that. And this man, for a 70-year-old, 69-year-old man, looks in fine fettle. He looks amazing. And I'm very excited. This is the future, everyone. And it's an exciting one. Let's just leave that there for a minute. What are you all thinking about this? I think this is epic, and we're going to read an article from Screen Rant about this very shortly. Man, Harry Mayo, you think the Batman make $1 billion? I would expect the Batman to at least make $1 billion, 800 to $1 billion, but who knows? It could be more than that. I expect Black Adam to make around 500, 600 million, which will be very good for that movie. If it makes any more than that, that would be exceptional. But the JSA being involved is a pull to the hardcore DC audience as well. The Flash movie must at least make 800 to $1 billion to be deemed as a success, or it's a failure. A lot of money has been spent on that movie. So let's go to the article. And we're going to talk more about Michael Keaton in, photographed on the set of Batgirl, because I think that is so exciting. Right, here we are. Batgirl set photo gives first look at Michael Keaton in Batman suit. Ahmed Hikal, good morning, mate. It's morning here. Do you think they will change how the Flash runs in the Flash movie? Listen, I don't know if Andy kind of looked at it and said, I don't like that. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't have an issue with it myself. Mandarin Mayo, Dr. Fate and Hawkman are my most anticipated characters. Look, it's not rocket science to give Dr. Fate and Hawkman, the movie treatment. These are characters, that deserve it. But they're going to go beyond this because this is what Snyder wasn't particularly interested in, expanding the other characters. He was looking at Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, Flash, and that's great. We want to see Green Arrow in movies, don't we? We want to even see Plastic Man. These are characters that are beloved by many DC fans, and I think that's very, very important. So where are we? A set image from Batgirl reveals Michael Keaton's full look as he returns as Batman. Leslie Grace joins the DCEU as Barbara Gordon after her great performance in John M. Chu's In the Heights. Written by Christina Hodson and directed by Adi El Arbi and Bilal Fallah. Batgirl doesn't have a specific release date yet, but it's set to debut on HBO Max this year. I did look into it after yesterday's live, actually. I am being told that Batgirl will actually, in fact, have a cinematic release in 2023. That's what I'm being told, and it's looking like a December 2023 release, but we'll have to wait and see. That would mean they have Blue Beetle, Batgirl, and Shazam and Fury of the Gods for next year. The reason for this is because they're not sure what Discovery are going to do, and the company want some DC content. Those 3 movies would be great for next year, no question about that, because there is some doubt in what Discovery want to do with DC moving forward. So I think it's good that they had some extra in their tank for next year as well. It's gone very quiet, hasn't it, on J.J. Abrams and Ta-Nehisi Coates' Superman. That's interesting. Anyway, principal photography for the movie is currently underway. It started in Glasgow late last year, and since then, images and videos have consistently come out, giving fans an idea about what to expect from the project. That includes various snaps of Grace in both her Batgirl costume and Barbara Gordon setup. As part of the DCEU, J.K. Simmons will reprise his role, very curious, isn't it, that, as Gotham City Police Department GCPD Commissioner Jim Gordon and Barbara's father. But aside from the origin story of Grace's Batgirl, arguably the most interesting thing about the flick is the return of Keaton as Batman after appearing first in Andy Muschietti's The Flash. Look, it's very exciting, but that's not the most interesting thing. The interesting thing is for DC fans who like Leslie Grace and are excited for the character of Batgirl. So although Batman's in it and I'm excited and other DC characters might appear, it's about Leslie Grace's Batgirl for me, definitely. Where are we? Ahmad Hikal, what do you think of the slow motion effects with the Flash? I honestly didn't like it. I hope there isn't a lot of it in the Flash movie. I actually love it, Ahmed. I think it's great. I think Snyder did a great job. Listen, it's part of the same universe. Obviously, Andy will do his thing. I'm not sure if he's going to kick the slow-mo out. I don't mind it because you appreciate the speed of Barry Allen by doing it that way. Ahmed, what? I don't understand. Sorry, what? It is hot. It's not hot. It's cold. It's winter, isn't it? Anyway, now fans can see Keaton. Now fans can see Keaton back as Batman in new Batgirl set images, courtesy of @Batgirl Film on Twitter. A series of snaps of the actor wearing his full superhero costume. Check out the images below. Just imagine Batgirl Film News and everything Film News that these people are running, and these are fans, by the way, are doing a better job of covering DC than people like Screen Rant. Take a think about that for a minute. Well, look at those pictures again, by the way. Well, they're there. I've already shown them to you. I think this is a very fake image, but you can see 4 different screen caps there. So where are we? Johnny Kemper, her Batgirl costume is 100% accurate. It absolutely is. Danny Alley, I saw a Reddit post of an alleged test screener of the Batman. He said the movie is great, but the third act needed work. Your thoughts on this? I'd say it's absolute bullshit. Are we questioning an artist, an auteur like Matt Reeves? You like the first two acts, but you don't like the last act. What do you mean it needed work? Now, I'm sorry, that's absolute bullshit. Having seen the movie myself, the third act is a tour de force. It's a chef's kiss. It's beautiful. So absolute bullshit. Lots of people have seen this movie now. And, no one I've spoken to is talking about a bad third act. Ronnie Dodge, looking forward to the dynamic between Simmons and Keaton and bringing Dick Grayson, hopefully played by Dylan. Listen, Dick Grayson is, it's about time, isn't it? These are the things that DC should be doing. They should have been doing this years ago, not waiting for Fagan, the MCU, to beat us to the fucking pump. We started it before them. We had Superman Returns, Batman Begins. That could have been the beginning of a universe, but no, Nolan said no, blah, 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 blah. Then he got involved with the DCEU, Nolan. Makes no sense, right? So we're doing it now, which is exciting. This is the first time that fans finally get a proper look at Keaton's Batman in the DCEU, despite being prominently featured in the Flash marketing materials. Warner Brothers has purposely delayed unveiling his whole look as the Dark Knight. Not much is known about his role in Batgirl at this point. In The Flash, he still has to share the superhero mantle with Ben Affleck, who also reprises the iconic role despite previously exiting the franchise. Wouldn't surprise me if Affleck and Keaton are both in Batgirl. Watch this space again. Where am I? Also reprises the iconic role despite previously exiting the franchise. But since they supposedly exist in two different universes, it's unknown if they will even cross paths. In any case, fans are just excited to see both of them in the Ezra Miller-led blockbuster, absolutely. With these new images now making the rounds online, it's curious if it would prompt Warner Brothers to release an official look at Keaton's Batman. They will eventually. In the past, the studio's superhero franchise has received backlash after first look photos of heroes wearing their suits are debuted through paparazzi. That doesn't happen anymore. Since then, they made it a point to get ahead of unofficial snaps by rolling out proper marketing images where fans can properly see the overall look of the characters. They did it with Gracie's costume in Batgirl, so they might do it for Keaton's Batman as well. Listen, I don't really care if I see Pap's photos, and I don't think it's a failure of the studio, by the way, like some propaganda merchants say. These are anticipated movies. It happens. It's happened with MCU stuff as well. I mean, some MCU stuff. We saw a clip of Andy Garfield's Spider-Man being leaked. So please don't start on me. So that's that. We now move on to Superman and Lois. So here's the first one. This is about John Kent. So remember to keep on basic VOMRED. I don't know what you're talking about, Kyara Combs. VOM.red. Don't know. Don't understand. Superman and Lois. John Kent insulted the Man of Steel's legacy in the worst way. In Superman and Lois, John Kent just took a massive shortcut to become a football star, insulting the Man of Steel's legacy in the worst way. By Ronaldo Matadine of CBM. Is it CBM? CBR.com. In season 2 of Superman and Lois, John Kent, Jordan Alas, has been making terrible decisions, partly due to ego, but also due to massive insecurities. He seems to be hurt by Jordan Alex Garfield outshining him as Superboy. Not to mention a human such as Timmy can dope up on strange drugs and surpass him on the football field. As a result, John decided to even the odds and prove he had untapped power within too, but it only led to him insulting the Man of Steel's legacy in the worst way. Now, across all comics, cartoons, TV shows, video games, and movies, whether it be as Clark Kent or Kal-El, Superman extols the highest virtue. He tries to be a stellar example, inspiring hope in many. It's why he never endorsed cheating or shortcuts in order to become great. Despite his Kryptonian powers, he believes in hard work, which is what Tyler Hoechlin's Clark thought John would be about after his powers didn't activate. Unfortunately, John took the same drugs from his girlfriend Candice, which allowed him to focus and trigger latent abilities in the latest episode. The drugs enhanced his strength, endurance, and vision in football training. His performances stunned his teammates, which left him lapping it all up. He had everyone eating out of his hands, which will likely lead to popularity, more affection from Candice, and respect from his coach. However, John's treading a fine line as the drugs are connected to the X-kryptonite from the Smallville mines. While they can give humans powers, John's hybrid body and mind could experience adverse effects and maybe even poisoning. Maybe this is how we get Doomsday, by the way. Natalie already noticed changes and is starting to worry. If things get out of hand, that'll be the ultimate dishonor. After all, Cal groomed the boys to be better than this. So finding out John is taking such dangerous risks will break his heart. It'll all stomp on the banner of fairness and equality that the House of El Sigil stands for. Leaving Superman questioning where he went wrong, it'll crush Lois too, as she never raised him to be conceited, arrogant, or a cheater. Ultimately, this is going to be a defining chapter in John's life because he'll be earning things he doesn't deserve. And if he's into this fake life, then John won't ever be able to stand for truth, justice, and a better tomorrow, the way his dad wants them to be. So it's very interesting, isn't it? And we'll go to the next article before I start talking about this. It's very interesting because these are great themes that the show is dealing with. Batman and Night. I want Batfleck fighting Mad Hatter. Wouldn't that be fun? Don't think you're ever going to see it happen, but wouldn't it be fun? But yeah, this in our lives, we do cheat sometimes, don't we? We lie and we reach to places, you know, using means that we shouldn't, right? That's reality. Now, Superman is an inspiration. He's an inspiration to me as ever since I first saw him in Superman the movie as a small boy. Because when I did something wrong, I remember being a huge Smallville fan and thinking, shit, I've just done something really wrong. Clark wouldn't do this. Clark would be disappointed in me. And that sounds pathetic, right? Because Clark isn't a real character. But these fictional characters can inspire us and make us think about our, you know, the things that we do that are not so nice and not so good. So that's always been great for me. I've always got Clark in my head telling me, don't do this, don't do that. I think that's a great thing. And I think that's what's so beautiful about these characters. John, there are pictures of Michael Keaton on the Batgirl set as Batman. You just missed it, John. I've just been talking about it. You may want to rewatch the video if it's in viewable form. Probably it's not in viewable form today because the internet's not great here. But yeah, we've just been talking about it. They look absolutely fantastic, John. And at the moment, we're talking about Superman and Lois. And yes, so I like the elements of Superman's son doing something where he's cheating. Now, this is going to come back to haunt him. This could make him sick. Ultimately, this could turn him into Doomsday. Imagine that if he becomes Doomsday and Superman has to kill his own son. Imagine that, because what Todd Helbing is doing with this show is brilliant. It's a fresh take on Superman. It's not hard to make and write Superman when you've got brains and an imagination. On to our next and our final article. Superman and Lois theory. Jordan reaches Clark's power level in season 2. On Superman and Lois, Clark Kent's son, Jordan, has Kryptonian powers, and there is reason to think they might develop to their fullest in season 2 by Brad Curran of Screen Rant. Superman and Lois has placed much attention on the developing powers of Jordan Kent, Alex Garfin, and the story unfolding in season 2. Could be the point where he finally masters them following his supporting role on Supergirl and Crisis on Infinite Earths. Tyler Hoechlin's man has still began headlining his own Arrowverse series when Superman and Lois debuted in 2021. While Metropolis is usually the primary residence of Clark Kent and Lois Lane, Superman and Lois season 1 saw them move with their sons Jordan and Jonathan, Jordan alas, back to Clark's hometown of Smallville. When they first were going to do this, I wasn't very happy because I was excited, but we finally get an iconic Superman story in Metropolis, in the Daily Planet. But I must admit, this is a lot more interesting to me now. As the Kent family acclimates to farm life in the small town, Jordan soon discovers that he possesses superpowers. Eventually, Clark comes clean with his sons that he's Superman and vows to help Jordan learn to control the abilities that are beyond his understanding. That'd be a tough task for anyone to undertake, but Jordan experiencing the difficulties of adolescence life in high school only makes it harder. With Superman and Lois moving ahead into season 2, Kal-El's doppelganger Bizarro presents a new major challenge. Meanwhile, Jordan naturally remains frustrated by the difficulties in gaining full control over his Kryptonian powers, like his father has, with how Jordan's story has progressed from season 1. Now, to be clear, Jor-El said that he would never gain Clark's full powers. So this is an interesting theory. Superman and Lois season 2 could finally be the point where he rises to the same power level as his father, with total control over his abilities as a half Kryptonian. If Doomsday and Superman kill each other mid-season or at the end of the season, then Jordan would need to have more power, because he may have to become Superman quickly. It's very interesting. But what happens, if Jonathan does become Doomsday, but then is reborn with latent Kryptonian powers? This could be very complicated and very intriguing and interesting. In its first episode, Superman and Lois show Jordan discovering he possesses Kryptonian abilities when he saves Jonathan from falling debris on the Kent farm. After Clark reveals that he's Superman, Jordan has context for his newfound powers, but harnessing them possesses a major challenge for him in Smallville. Clark Kent does everything he can as a protective father to guide Jonathan in the development of his powers since then, but this proves more difficult than either of them expected. Splinter Cell Tactical Espionage. Hello, have they explained that scene why they didn't shoot Batman in the face? Is there a technology to protect him from getting killed in his jawline? I don't think anyone's ever explained that, and I wouldn't expect that to be explained again. With things like that espionage, you've got to use your imagination and say, it is the way it is. It's okay. It's fiction. It's not real. So just go with the moment. That's my advice, or you'll be very frustrated. Fiction that you read and you watch on the screen. Jordan's social anxiety disorder makes it more difficult for him to remain calm in high-stress situations, inching him toward inadvertently using his powers. Jordan finds out the hard way how important it is to avoid this when he breaks Jonathan's hand as his brother tries to intervene in a fight Jordan nearly gets into. The other issue for Jordan is that while his Kryptonian powers make him much stronger than the average human, they still aren't nearly as strong as those of his fathers. That's interesting. Good point. For Jordan, both finessing his powers and having the restraint to know when and where to use them are real struggles. With the arrival of Bizarro, there are hints that Jordan might finally accomplish both as Superman and Lois Season 2 story unfolds. At the end of Superman and Lois Season 2 episode The Inverse Method, Jordan asks his grandfather, General Sam Lane Dylan Walsh, to train him to develop his powers. Though Sam has had at times a tumultuous relationship with the Kent family, he and Clark have also ironed their relationship out for the good of the family. This means Sam isn't likely to try and weaponize Jordan against Clark, especially with Sam's retirement from the DoD. But the most important takeaway is that Jordan is determined to strengthen his powers as much as possible. The challenge presented by Bizarro suggests that Jordan could be a bigger player, confident he might appear to be. Could this be the moment Jordan actually dies? This could be an even bigger twist. There's not meant to be two brothers. There's not two brothers in the comic. So this is very, very interesting. With Jordan being a human Kryptonian hybrid, his arc is one of the show's most central, right alongside Superman himself. It's only to be expected that he'll develop his powers fully at some point, but Jor-El said that would never happen, my friend. But Superman and Lois Season 2 might also use Jordan to facilitate an unexpected retcon. As a teenager with powers of Superman, Jordan could join his father against Bizarro as the version of Superboy, more specifically as Superman and Lois version of Connor Kent. The presence of John Henry Irons' Walt Parks on the show might even be a subtle hint of this, with both he and Superboy closely connected to the death of Superman. While Superman and Lois may or may not be headed in the direction of telling its own version of the story, Jordan as Superboy will fit right into the show's template plate. It was confirmed that Bizarro is Superman and Lois' Season 2's villain and the main antagonist, but the show initially teased him as Doomsday, with Bizarro revealed. However, Doomsday shouldn't necessarily be written off. Both Smallville and Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice rejigged him as a humanoid Kryptonian, Davis Bloom and General Zod, respectively, who transforms into the Beast. Superman and Lois might pull the same trick, with Bizarro eventually morphing into Doomsday. Still, even if he remains as Bizarro, there are multiple ways in which Jordan could enter the battle with him and finally reach the pinnacle of his powers. If Bizarro does transform into Doomsday, Jordan could take up the mantle of Superboy, as Kyle had done in the aftermath of Superman's death. If Bizarro remains Bizarro, he might prove challenging for Superman to handle alone. Bizarro's much scarier portrayal on the show certainly suggests this could be the case. This might give Jordan the final push he needs to spring into action, with his powers at their fullest, lending his father and John Henry Irons, aka Steel, a hand to defeat Bizarro. I don't think this storyline is as simplistic as that. And the previous article I read, I think is very, very interesting as well, because I think what's going on with Jonathan taking those pills to enhance his abilities, I think this is all connected to what's going to happen at the end of the season. So it's not just simple as Jordan becoming Superboy. I don't think that's his destiny, by the way. Superman and Lois could theoretically take this idea even further and have Jordan face Bizarro and stop alone. No. Considering the struggles Jordan's dealt with both socially and with his latent powers, viewers are most assertively in Jordan's corner. Finding equilibrium to fully control and develop his powers has been such a challenge for him that Jordan being the one to defeat Bizarro would be an extremely triumphant moment. No, because even though he's an important character on the show, this show's called Superman and Lois, and having Jordan, win the battle is unrealistic. It's ridiculous. No one would believe it. So I don't agree there. Splinter Cell Tactical Espionage. Do you think that there's room for Bat Family in sequels? What are the chances, in your opinion, for that to happen? There is every absolute chance of that happening, and that's very exciting. This is why Matt Reeves is involved, because he wants to his own Earth to mold the clay, and that is coming for sure. Ronnie Dodge, watching The American Assassin, Keaton and Dylan O'Brien are great together. So if he got Dick, would be so down for it as the character, but heads in that movie. Yeah. It looks like it's Dylan O'Brien. My friend, I would be very excited for him to do it, but we'll have to wait and see. But it's just exciting we're getting a Dick Grayson. I don't know why YouTube hate them. Obviously, they see the name Dick. Maybe if you write Dick Grayson, they won't take your comments out for review. I don't get it. Jordan Kent has been through as much as anyone on Superman and Lois. He's been on an unwilling vessel in the possession plot of Edge Adam Rayner and dealt with terrible migraines and social isolation relating to his powers. The show is most certainly building up to the moment when Jordan truly masters the abilities he wields. I don't think that's the case, though. I don't think Jordan is what he says he is. I think, there's something going on with Jordan because, you've got to ask the question, why did they decide to have two brothers in this series? That's an interesting point as far as I'm concerned. Having Jordan fight side by side with his father or even vanquish Bizarro by himself could be season 2 payoff Superman and Lois is heading towards. I don't agree. If the storytelling chips all fall into place, Jordan might even bear the Kryptonian name Con-El when all's said and done. It's too soon. It's too soon. Even if Jordan doesn't die and isn't a sacrificial lamb and John doesn't become Superboy, and I think those things will happen, by the way, even if those things don't happen, the climax of season 2, having John have his powers and defeat Bizarro and everyone lives happily ever after, it's too soon. There's a long journey. There's seasons to come. So I'm sorry, I don't agree with that article. That's just my opinion, of course. So they are your DCEU updates. Splinter Cell Tactical Espionage. We have to wait and see, but it may very well be just an Easter egg if there are hints for that. Yes, listen, as Matt Reeves has already said, there are huge plans for more in his universe. Nobody is ready for what they're planning, not just in the Batman Earth and universe, but with the multiverse strategy. going full force as well. I'm going to hang around for 5 minutes if you want to ask me anything. I'm in a rush. I'm expected for Sunday lunch a little bit later on, so I'm going to have to get washed and brushed up. But I'll hang around for 5 minutes if there's anything you want to comment. I do. This is why I come in live, of course. Splinter Cell Tactical Espionage. Have you seen Keaton in the new suit? Yes, we were talking about it earlier here on the DCEU Daily Live. Very exciting. Maybe we can have one final look at it again because he does look great. Very excited. Ronnie Dodge, I'm so excited for the DCEU future after The Flash. But if people want to hate on the future in the end, they get left behind. At the end of the day, that's it, isn't it? People who love Snyder can keep on watching his free movies. I will keep on watching his free movies, but I'm excited about the future. And these propaganda merchants now are best to be ignored. They think everything they say is going to come true. They think they know everything. They know nothing. You know, at the end of the day, if Ray Fisher and Zack Snyder weren't attacking the studio publicly, but, you know, they would have restored the Snyderverse, right? The studio were ready to do that. You know, AT&T were ready to do that. And they ruined it. Zack Snyder and Ray Fisher ruined it for themselves. Nobody else. They wanted revenge and they wanted to remain at the studio making DC content. They wanted their cake and eat it. Right, where are we? This is it. This is it. This is the best one. Look at this. He looks absolutely fantastic. And we were talking about this earlier. This is where we're going. That's a 70-year-old man in the Batman costume. That's not a stunt man. He looks amazing. And I'm so very, very excited. Ronnie Dodge, the one thing I've noticed about Keaton's suit on Batgirl, he can move his neck at last. Ha ha, yeah. They obviously redefined that. I suppose if you're a man of Keaton's age, you can't be in a suit that kind of traps you. So that's great. Obviously, you know, these suits could actually kill someone if they're too, you know, if they're too tight. So it's very important that they're built in the right way. And, you know, Keaton's going to be great. Keaton's excited about this. I don't know what he's going to do, where he's going to go after Batgirl. He could even be in Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Of course, you know, Batfleck was supposed to be in the first Aquaman. We know that Zack was planning that as well. But yeah. So, as I say, exciting times. Of course, it's a shame that Snyder wasn't allowed to finish his arc. Of course, it's a shame that, you know, what happened with Justice League. But the truth is, Snyder should never have been brought in for a central universe franchise. We all know that. He's a deconstructor. He should, if you wanted Snyder, you should have given him a little pocket universe somewhere from the very beginning. Splinter Cell Tactical Espionage. I assume it's an upgraded Batsuit, so Keaton will finally not be pissed off at the Batsuit lull. Definitely. Ronnie Dodge. The dynamic between Keaton and Grace should be fun. Yeah, let's not forget this is Leslie Grace's Batgirl's movie, and I'm sure the directors have been very respectful of that. But I think as the studio moves on, you're going to get a lot of cameos and crossovers, and it's great to see it. Don't forget, next week, Peacemaker, episode 8, the finale. Something huge is happening. If you're a DC fan, don't miss it. That's all I'm going to say. Unlike the Boba Fett finale, which was a load of crap and underwhelming, you're going to see something special. And I think Peacemaker, from what I've been told, has been absolutely fantastic. A great start to a great year of for DC. You know, it's promising to be a fantastic 2022 if you're a DC fan. The trailer we saw the other day, the images we've seen could have been taken from a comic book. They're so accurate, and that's brilliant. So this is going to be a very exciting year, and next year is going to be interesting. Of course, what's very interesting now is, but of course, the Warner Brothers Discovery deal. This is the biggest merger of all time in entertainment. It makes us bigger than Disney now, which is exciting. And it's going to be interesting what decisions Zaslav and Discovery will make with DC. This is going to be big, and I think this is why they've halted certain projects for 2023, and that's why I think Batgirl will be delayed and be released theatrically. I think that's why Blue Beetle was delayed to 2023 and is being released theatrically. And we're always going to have Shazam, Fury of the Gods, because I think you can still have DC content out there, but obviously they don't know what Warner Brothers Discovery want to do. So it's a way of having content. So I can't wait to see what Zaslav says when that deal is ratified. And nothing can go wrong now with that deal. It's been greenlit by the government. It's happening. It's very exciting. Ronnie Dodge, I'm going to say this. If Ray and Zach was respectful to WB, he could have been in The Flash, and Snyderverse could be on HBO Max, but there's always agendas. Very sad, Ronnie. They decided they wanted revenge and they wanted their cake and eat it. And if you upset big companies, the ramifications for those decisions, having been in Hollywood for 6 months myself, the ramifications you face, because at the end of the day, I'm surprised Warner Brothers didn't bring out the information that they could have brought out, to prove a lot of the points that Snyder and Fisher are making, and not exactly the way they seem, but they will do that. As I say, big interviews before the Flash movie. If you're a Snyder fan, if you're a cultist, you're not going to like it. Johnny Kempler, you can sign up to NordVPN to watch shows available in other countries like Peacemaker and all streaming platforms. Yeah, I don't want to talk about doing that too much on YouTube, but I know what you mean. Yeah. I just really want to see it on the best screen, on the best picture I can. Johnny Kempler, you can sign up to. Yeah, you told me that. Thank you, though, Johnny. Splinter Cell, Tactical Espionage. Mark Sanderson, who was invited for the Batman screening, he said a masterwork. He can't say anything more. Exactly. It is a masterwork. You don't need me to tell you this is a masterwork. We all know. Even if you haven't seen the film, you know it's a masterwork. Splinter Cell, Tactical Espionage. But he can't. No, he can't. No one's going to tell you spoilers. I'm not going to tell you spoilers. No one's going to tell you spoilers, right? Because first of all, that means we lose the trust of the studio. And not just that. I'm talking to you. I have a responsibility not to spoil the film for you, because what happens in this film is so shocking. You want to see it on an IMAX screen. You don't want someone spoiling it for you. I think people have been very good thus far, because at this point, a lot of people have already seen this film. Everyone's keeping stum, and a lot of stuff you see on the internet is absolute bollocks. Ronnie Dodge, I'd be down for Batgirl to get delayed until January to come out in cinemas. I think it's going to be delayed till December 2023, because that film is set around Christmas time, a bit like Hawkeye was. But I think we're going to get 3 DCEU films all in theaters in 2023, and that's Shazam, Fury of the Gods, Batgirl, and Blue Beetle. I still think they're exciting projects. Not as huge, maybe, as the projects we're getting this year. But as I say, Zaslav and Discovery and the new WB have got big decisions to make on the future. And that just gives them the opportunity to have content, but it doesn't damage anything if they decide to reverse on those decisions being made right now. So it's going to be very interesting. Will Zaslav and Discovery restore the Snyderverse? I actually think they will, but it's going to be interesting. Ronnie Dodge, 2024 should be Wonder Woman 3, all being well. But will Patty Jenkins be the director? Splinter Cell, Tactical Espionage 2. Sorry, bad English. No problem. After I've had a skinful and I wake up in the morning, my English isn't very good either. Where are we? Delengic CJ, without spoilers, is there hints of other DC characters' existence in the Batman? Anyway, no, I can't answer that question. But go and watch the movie, and I think you're going to be very happy. Very happy. What's going on now? And as I say, it wouldn't surprise me if Zaslav and Discovery actually say, if Matt Reeves gets at least $1 billion and gets rave reviews and gets fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, I can see Zaslav and Discovery saying, go with Matt. Go with Matt's Earth. Make it the main Earth. That wouldn't surprise me either. It's going to be interesting what is happening. But there's a lot of hype around DC this year, and that's interesting. I've never seen a year. You see, it's a bit weird for the MCU this year. You've got a lot of hype because Sam Raimi's back in comic books. The Multiverse of Madness is a great kind of continuation. It's an exciting movie. But the other Disney Plus projects, the other movies like 4 or whatever that one's called, Love and Thunder, I don't think it's a very exciting for the MCU. Not as exciting as it is for the stuff about characters in the reverse. But I'm not saying nothing. Ooh, what have you found out, Ronnie? I could ratify that information for you, but I wouldn't do it anyway. I don't go. Lovely interview that last almost 30 minutes. Yeah, listen. The interviews for the Batman are good, and I'll tell you why. Because they're honest, they're not bullshit. They're not sitting there going, "We love the fans." Yeah, like me, when I'm treading on free trains is bad luck. I don't tread on them, so sometimes that doesn't make me even-footed. I just think you either recast Black Panther or you don't bother. But there's obviously other issues on that set. Ronnie Dodge, I love Paul Dano in that interview. Paul's brilliant, isn't he? Paul's performance in that film, it must have taken a lot of hard work, but he's absolutely fantastic. Oscar nominee worthy as far as I'm concerned. You won't be talking about Heath Ledger or Joaquin Phoenix after you see that film, although they're both great. But yeah, Paul's a class act, isn't he? Any more questions before I sign off? Any more comments? We'll just see that one more time because it's so beautiful. Look at that. Michael Keaton, the first live action movie Batman. What's to hate about that? Look at that. And who is he talking to? But this looks awesome, mate. Listen, look at this. This is brilliant. I mean, how can you not be excited for this? John, I'm looking forward to Dr. Very iconic. Right, I'm going to call it a day now. I'll read out your comments just before I sign off, but I'm going to go now because I've got a bit of a busy day. I did want to do a DC because we're all fans at the end of the day. It's a very, very exciting time. Ronnie Dodge, take care, mate. Take care, Ronnie. This has been the DCEU Daily Live. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you never miss this perfection. And I'll see you again tomorrow with hopefully even more DCEU Daily Live. Although it might be difficult tomorrow. It's going to be a bit of a full house. I may be back on Tuesday. I shall keep you posted over Twitter, on Twitter, at Movies TV Mad. So be sure to follow me on there. Until then, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.